published, 1322 EDT, the 3rd of May 2018, updated, 1553 EDT. The 3rd of May 2018. Fraudster siblings who conned elderly victims out of thousands of pounds by persuading them to invest nearly £17 million in a high-risk investment scheme have been jailed. Brothers Alan and Russell Taylor paid themselves hundreds of thousands of pounds in commission, while their clients lost more than £5 million between 2008 and 2015. Their fraud paid for them to enjoy a lavish lifestyle which included paying more than £150,000 for a private jet to take them on luxury holidays. Married father of two, Alan Taylor, 38, was jailed for 6 years, and his brother, 37-year-old Russell, who lives in a barn conversion with his partner and child near Mundersley, Norfolk, was jailed for 5 years at King's Lynn Crown Court. Alan Taylor, 38, and 37-year-old brother Russell lived lavish lives while they gambled with the savings of pensioners who had trusted their family business. Alan Taylor bought an Aston Martin Virage Volante with a personalised number plate for £150,000 and spent £80,000 on high-value watches from Patek Philippe and Rolex. The pair also bought luxury homes and a £45,000 boat through their business, and leased other cars including BMWs and a Range Rover. The Taylors turned to crime after they took over the business of their late father Richard, who was a respected independent financial advisor in Norfolk. The court heard that they talked many of their father's 239 trusting clients into moving their cash out of relatively safe pensions and investment funds to instead put their money into a so-called Vantage Investment Group fund. Judge Anthony Bate described their fraud as a gross breach of trust which had a profound financial and emotional impact on their victims. A collection of watches owned by Alan Taylor, seized by police, are worth around £80,000. The brothers, who traded as Taylor and Taylor Associates, gave the false impression that the fund was low risk and offered higher returns. Clients who wanted a safe haven for their money were not told that their Vantage Investment Group was actually a high-risk venture run by the brothers. The brothers used the £16.8 million which was invested to bet on daily changes in share prices which could achieve high returns, but carried a risk of big losses. Police described the scheme as a win-win situation for the brothers because they pocketed 20% of any profits while not being liable for any losses which were funded solely by their clients. King's Lynn Crown Court heard that they had limited financial expertise, with Alan having left school with just one GCSE, a D grade in economics. Prosecutors said the brothers ran a 7-year scam to line their own pockets, and they gambled their clients' futures on the spin of roulette wheel. The brothers had initially pleaded not guilty to a string of fraud offences, but changed their plea to guilty to conspiracy to defraud in March. A £1 million home in Whitton, Norfolk, which was bought by Russell Taylor as he was gambling with pensions of the people in his own community. The judge told the pair that they had cheated the loyal, local clientele, built up by their father, who had a cautious and measured approach to risk. Clients were also charged an annual management fee for investing in the fund run by the brothers from offices in Hoveton, Norfolk. They were also given false statements about the value of their investments, leading many to believe that they had been making profits. An earlier hearing was told that the brothers had paid themselves generously, taking fees of £670,381 in the year 2011 to 2012 alone. The scheme began to unravel after the Financial Conduct Authority began an investigation. It led to the FCA ordering the price of units in the fund to be cut by 46% in 2014, leaving investors with half the investment they thought they had. The biggest loser was a client who lost £197,840. The huge drop led to some clients calling Action Fraud and Norfolk Police, and the brothers folded up their business just months later. On average, each of their clients lost almost half of their total pension funds, and some were forced to get jobs again to make up for the losses. By the time the fund was wound up, there was only £4 million left to return to clients. Although some had managed to withdraw money previously, the court heard that 147 clients had so far been given £5 million compensation under the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, but many are still out of pocket as they can only receive a maximum of £50,000 compensation each. Mark Fenhalls, defending Alan Taylor, said his client had set up their Vantage Investment Group as a real business with good intentions. He said Taylor had left school aged 16 with only one GCSE, a D in economics, and spent 4 years in the army before working with his father at Taylor & Taylor Associates. Taylor had helped clients save a lot of money during the 2008 financial crash, and had developed a false, inflated belief of his own ability born from that success. He said Mr. Fenhalls added, he thought he rightly guessed the market. He made some spectacular mistakes. It is without question true that Alan Taylor is deeply sorry for what he has done. Unlike many, he is not feeling sorry for himself. He is just sorry for what he has done to other people. His sorrow extends to his younger brother Russell. He accepts he was the driving force behind Vantage. Richard Bentwood, defending Russell Taylor, described him as woefully inexperienced and said he was appalled that people suffered a proceeds of crime investigation to confiscate the assets of their brothers is due to be held at a later date. A £45,000 boat bought through the Taylors' business was seized. The brothers also leased other cars including BMWs and a Range Rover. Detective Inspector Liz Fernandez, who led an investigation by the Eastern Region Special Operations Unit, said after hearing these heartless brothers cruelly took advantage of the trust their clients had in them by investing their money into a high-risk investment scheme akin to a roulette wheel. The victims had worked hard to accrue their pension funds and trusted the Taylors to make wise investment decisions for them. Instead they used the money for their own personal gain, frittering away their illicitly gained funds on items such as expensive cars and their own private boat bought by the business. A victim who asked not to be named said she and her late husband were low-risk investors who had initially been clients of Richard Taylor until his death, when his son Alan became their advisor. She said, "My husband was then diagnosed with cancer, so we made arrangements to see Alan as we had to sort the finances out. We knew he was going to die. Alan convinced us to withdraw from some of our existing investments elsewhere and put it in Vantage. 8 months later, during which time my husband had died, I got a letter saying Vantage were going into liquidation. In total we lost around half of our money. It broke my heart. It doesn't compare to the utter heartbreak of losing my husband, but it made the grieving process even tougher to deal with. They were completely ruthless. They sat opposite my husband, saw how ill he was, knew he was going to die, and yet still gave us the advice that led to us losing all this money. It's been a long process and I'm glad it's all over, but I no longer know who to trust and mentally I am shattered. Anne Lown, 63, and her husband Michael of Plumstead, Norfolk, said their savings halved in value after being invested by the Taylors in the Vantage scheme without their knowledge. Mrs. Lown said, "Our pension fund we had invested in was virtually wiped out. Both of us are still working now. For us, there is still a large amount of money outstanding which the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, FSCS, will not cover.